I've often wanted to start putting things in my brain on YouTube for some reason, just because of the zeitgeist, if you will, or whatever it is. There's some topics and stories that I want to share. Most are from high school. By the way, I've already written all this stuff out on Notepad first, and then I'm cranking it out and adding all the text notes inside the YouTube editor. Most of these stories are from high school, but I want to start from here. I have kind of a photographic memory, and to prove it, I will be talking about lots of different people, I guess. For the sanity of some of these people, I'll only use their first name, maybe the initials. But the reality is, you can probably Google me, and then you can Google a high school, I went to, or, try to put two and two together, right? And then there's a dead website like Rate My Teachers, and you could probably use this historian internet tool, and you can probably just put it all together. There is a difference, though, I guess, from what we know as far as actual memory, right, and what the machines are able to learn today. Just because the internet has just turned into a dumpster fire, and it's not really all that useful anymore. Anyway, I'm going to start proving some validity in what I'm saying. So I'm going to start with one of the most important classes that I feel I had in high school. And it was wood shop with Mr. Silca. Mr. Silca, if you're ever watching this, and you probably will, because anyway, it'll go around. I was contemplating calling you by your first name. However, out of respect, because I think you deserve it, I will still continue to refer to you as Mr. Silca. I don't think, by the way, that all the staff members at my high school deserve that same respect. And, well, you'll be able to tell. One day, we had a representative, shill, from UTI come to the class, and he asked who in the class was, I guess, like a good listener. He asked you to pick out, who he thought was a good listener. And I guess you'd be there between you and, the rest of the class. I was chosen as, the first experiment subject for this concept. And so the whole thing was that he pretty much mentioned a story with me, and he also told you to pick off some other people, and he sent them over to Tracy Jopa's room, or whatever room was, whoever was in that room at the time. I think it was Rosen, I think his name was. And he shared a story, and the story had a beginning, middle, and an end. And I remembered it was like 5 or 7 sentences long. I actually don't remember the story, but I remember that I had to regurgitate it back as best as I could, for the next person, kind of like a broken telephone. I remember actually I did quite well. I didn't know how well I had actually quite done, but the look of the faces as I repeated it back to the next kids, and but like as I was repeating it back to the next person that was then called over, and by me looking at like the face of the class, I was able to understand or realize that I had probably done a good job, and I guess you too were impressed, and so was the guy from UTI. At that class, or from that experiment, I learned something. What I learned from the guy from UTI is how people remember things. He then gave a speech about how people pretty much only remember what gets told to them at first. They're kind of hazy on the middle details, and then they remember the end. The way or the reason why I was able to remember everything that was said was because, as the story was given to me, I remembered the style and the attitude of the person who was giving the information, and that plus the understanding that I had for what was being said, and then kind of like rewriting it in my brain in a way that I can understand, or in a more shorthand way in my mind. When it came time to regurgitate it, I was able to assemble the style of the attitude of the guy from UTI, plus the content, like the actual core meat and potatoes, so to say, and then regurgitate that back. And now I'm actually going to go off a little bit script here. A lot of times, I guess, when people are telling you things, or people are lecturing in a lecture hall, there is weeds, and then there is, the actual core meat and potatoes. This concept of weeds, I learned when I was doing my ACT prep over at Huntington. One of the girls there was like, you're reading through this thing, for the ACT. Figure out what's actually important and figure out what's not, and then if it's not important, if it's just fluff, just skip over it. All right, back to my script now. At the end, the guy from UTI gave out these little cards, for them to be able to market to us. There was a cool Polish, he gave us these little cards to be able to market to us. And at that age, I did not know as much as I know today about computers and what happens to our data and data mining, etc., etc. But I was sitting next to a very cool Polish kid, and that cool Polish kid was a senior, and I was a freshman. And he's the one that I ended up doing that cross-section project with, and that photo is somewhere in my childhood house. And I'll probably go and get it, maybe attach it at the end of this video. And when he filled out that documentation, he wrote all fake information down. And there was a section that talks about, what it is that you want to be when you get older. And he wrote porno producer as his future job. I know that you ran into this or that you saw it because as you had collected these cards, I guess you were doing like a validity check. And I don't really quite know why, or, just why that happened. And I'm certain that I'm certain because, you and then the guy from UTI were holding it side by side and then auditing what was written on this card. But as far as the kid that was next to me that did that, he's actually smarter, or he knew something, or, really, what's the point? And so, I guess maybe at the end, I'll talk more about this. He wrote, that junk, data there. And, really, this is the end of where my notes were. Dear viewers, this is the end of what my notes were. Let me just take a pause. What I did mention in some of my notes is I was stupid then. I'm pretty sure I'd put down like my real information, or at least somewhat, useful real information. And how this has evolved, by the way, over the last 10 years, is that, for example, this data is everywhere. And now I'm pretty much done with my high school story, and I'm going to talk a little bit about 1 minute with a timer. Some interesting wrap-up or an interesting concept about this all is that, first of all, I was new with public speaking at that time. And I ended up getting better at it, so to say, as I was inside of FBLA, but most importantly, it was somebody called Anwar that was at FBLA. Shout out, to you. And he was doing something called impromptu speaking. And, that has helped me, in addition to another story, which will be covered later on, the story of the speech or the book reading that I gave inside the library. Covering a book that I liked. This is the first video. I'm not really all that good of an editor, so I'm going to try maybe to see if the YouTube tools are worth anything. If not, in one take is pretty much how I expect all my videos to go, which is why I will organize them prior. And anyway, I guess that's good material for the intro video. Anyway, this is a story of, this is I guess one of the first intro stories of the woodshop class, and with Mr. Silca. I still have definitely 2 more stories that I wish to cover from this class of things that I learned. I had some good mentors of senior kids, that really helped get me out of my mold or shape, to where I'm at today. And I'm also want to give those people some shout outs, as I think they deserve it. And if you don't like it, well, sue me. One of the stories is with that girl Joanna. She said something that at the time, maybe made me feel a little bit uncomfortable, right? But as I get older, I realized that she was right, and she wasn't stupid. A lot of these people, as I would consider maybe bullies, or maybe would have thought to have been bullies, actually ended up giving me, I think, like very good messages later on. Carlos, last initial V, and Joe, last initial L, from the senior basketball team, and also David B. you guys definitely helped shape my intro freshman year in a better way, and it definitely gave me the confidence boost that I have enjoyed and appreciated going on. And another story inside of Silcas class is the probably it was because I feel that I had a study hall with him at one point where we would pretty much I downloaded calculator games and we were busy playing all of those, and the final class or the final periods that I think I had with him through my high school was I also had woodworking at the end in senior year with Woody was I guess his nickname, and I don't really quite remember much else, but I definitely have kept those projects, and I mean to me they're a testament as to just working with your hands and plans and concepts and all that. So I feel the woodworking classes are very important in high schools. Um, for this reason. It's been it's been told and it's made evident that in the 70s and in the 80s there was shop class where you'd learn to work on your car, and it's very important to know how to work on the tool that you use to make money and advance you in life, so that you know how to do some basic repairs. We took wood shop and the construction class, which I feel is actually even more important than the wood shop class. I think it's much more important to be able to know how to build a house than what it is, to be able to do the finer art aspect of life. Especially today, I feel it's more important to know a little bit more about how to build a house. And I feel that these classes are very important in schools. Unfortunately, there's an attack on the schooling system, right, in America. And I'm also going to touch on that in a story with Nanette Cassateri, my grade school science teacher, also very deserving. But as far as classes and go like that, anyway, woodshop is important. And if you were to ask me the today's equivalent, I feel it would be the knowing how to use a computer. We took classes like desktop publishing, which most people slept through and didn't really understand, or right, and maybe we took, that's it. People did things like, being proficient in Microsoft Word and Excel. That was a big thing, 10 and 15 years ago. People would make that resume worthy. Today, heck, man, if you can find a kid out of high school that even knows what Microsoft Word is and actually how to use it, to solve problems, or Excel, etc. So today's equivalent of a woodshop class, I feel, would actually be a power user IT computer-like class, being that everything is either driven today, unfortunately, by this device here, or some type of computer, and that since that is your interface into the world today, the equivalent of a shop class in the year 2024, and even really in the 2020, and since advent of the iPhone, maybe one decade after the advent of the iPhone, is to be able to have a computer class where you can know how to troubleshoot your computer, breakdowns, how operating systems work, and even if you don't know, even just how to use your phone and what these settings mean and really what it is to be a good net sapien. That's all. Part one, for what it is, complete.